Away from that to talking about the cost of governance, reactions have begun to show President Bola Tinubu's reaction and restriction of the official convoys of ministers and heads of departments, including agencies, to a maximum of 3 vehicles. One of the reactions is coming from the League of Northern Democrats, asking President Bola Tinubu to lead by example in the federal government's push to cut the cost of governance. President Tinubu also ordered all ministers of state and heads of agencies to have at most 5 security personnel attached to them. The president instructed the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, to engage with the military, paramilitary and security agencies to determine a suitable reduction in their vehicle and security personnel deployments. Despite this measure, the League of Northern Democrats, which is a political movement, says the Nigerian leader should do more. To discuss this, we are joined by an economist, Lester Wilcox. Lester, it's nice to have you around. So this administration did something similar by announcing a slash in cost of governance and travel extra codes by 60% in January this year. But the president was still seen in a long list of cars in a convoy. Now it's coming up with the same directive. Are you convinced that this time it will be implemented and exemplified to actually reduce expenditure?
Sincerely, I do not understand why whenever the president talks about cutting cost of governance and everybody is saying he should do on his own. You see, everywhere in the world, like for instance, everywhere in the world, there's a minimum level of a security architecture that must follow the president around. And that's why he has also, I think he has directed the NSA to see how that can be rejigged. You cannot begin to say the president should cut down the aides around him, the security around him. That is the number one citizen. Now, if you're talking about the commission, the ministers, and the other government agencies, yes, one can understand where we are going. The number of convoys of a minister, I don't think a minister should have a convoy. So that, again, is where I'm having a challenge. Why should a minister have a convoy?
For safety reasons, for safety concerns, don't you think that is needful?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I said for safety reasons, don't you think that is needful?
What safety does a minister need? Is a minister, what safety does he need? Now, there is supposed to be a security attaché to a minister, maybe a DSS attaché, just for a minimum security arrangement. So, but what does he need a convoy for? There is this minister, the FCT minister. If you see him going out in Abuja, he's going out like a president. He has expert riders. He has long list of convoy. He goes out like a governor. So for me, that is where that normally comes in. The president has said that ministers should have a minimum number, a certain number of persons that will accompany them for foreign trips, which is okay, because a minister needs some additional hands to work. But I do not see why a minister should be going to work in the morning and is right on the convoy of a car. What for?
But they will say, I
don't see ministers.
Alistair, but they will say that they need, their aides, their security details, people who would help them work with their schedules for the day or their tasks. That's why they will need that much hand go along with them.
No, they need a hands in the office. Admit they need an essay, they need a PA, they need maybe a what do you call it? Some assistance. Yes, that's understandable. That's in the office. But I'm talking about a minister going from his house to the office, and he has about five cars going with him. What for? I think we have elevated too many things in this corner. We have allowed too many things to fly, which is not necessary. I don't think anywhere in the country, in another part of the world, I don't know American ministers, American secretaries, how many convoys they have when they travel. I only know about the Secretary of State when he travels out of the country that he has a lot of security. That kind of is understandable, but I don't know why a minister in Nigeria you have a convoy and you are talking about now the president reduced to 3.
Okay, so Alistair, Alistair, so invariably, are you saying that this directive by the presidency is actually not a realistic cost-cutting measure?
Well, it's a realistic cost-cutting measure to the extent that you might want to say save cost in fuel, save cost but you're not going to sack those personnel. Most of them, let's also put it this way, most of these personnel that follows the ministers around maybe civil servants or security personnel. So if you reduce them from the minister's convoy, have you also saved the salaries that they're going to pay to them? For instance, if you say the policemen following the minister should go down from, let's say, 5 to 2, the other 3 will have to still be redeployed to other areas, and so you've not saved any much cost. But if you're talking about in terms of logistics, like vehicles, like fueling the vehicles, of course, you are looking at that area. But sincerely speaking, in this country, we have a way of robbing Peter to pay Paul or pulling woods over our eyes. The area where you are trying to save costs, you might see that some other areas where cost is being, these expenditures are being overdue, something like that.
Yeah.
I remember the issue in the Ministry of Women Affairs. I don't understand why well, this is not part of my discussion, but just let me just chip this in. I don't understand the rationale behind the sacking of the Minister of Women Affairs, talking about Barrister Uju.
Yeah, honey. Now, Alistair, because we are actually pressed for time. So, if you are not entirely convinced that this will help in reducing expenditure of government, what do you think the government should actually be looking if it is hoping to manage its finances or manage its fiscal purse?
Look, thank you. Very good question. The government should be looking at those frivolities that goes on in the departments and in the ministries, and that's where the issue of what happened in the Women Affairs Ministry was. Come to my mind, where government spends billions and millions and millions of naira in conferences, spending money in conferences. Some conferences that have no value, that have no results. That is the cost of governance. Because what happens in these ministries and in these agencies are worse than when you see a minister driving in a convoy. Yes, it's part of it. But there are those frivolities that goes on. And the minister, the former Women Affairs Minister, exposed some of these things, where people spend millions of naira on conferences, on seminars that has no value. And you see how people were jubilating when she was removed. That tells you something, that the crux of the corruption in this country, the crux of where government should be looking at cutting costs, is right embedded in the ministries. You're right embedded in those departments. You're right embedded within the civil service. I don't know the political leaders. The political heads are just figureheads. But the civil servants, which many people have termed evil servants, they are the main crux of the governance architecture that needs to be dealt with. That for me is just way to go.
Okay.
It's superficial to say you're reducing the minister, superficial to say you're reducing the cover of a minister. What about the frivolities that goes on within those ministries? Have been reduced? I think that's what we should be looking at.
All right, Alistair Wilcox, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate that.